Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Coffee Conversations at Acuvate, where we dwell into the fascinating world of technology and its business impact. In our today's episode, the one with our data expert, we have with us someone who has been instrumental in driving data-driven strategies for over 2 decades now. He has been revolutionizing the way organizations leverage their data to make more informed decisions. He is a trailblazer in his field, a tech enthusiast, and a great mentor. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to our practice head, Data and Analytics, Mr. Shanawaz. Hello, Shanawaz. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here, Swetha.
It's a
Glad
pleasure.
to be here on Coffee Conversations with Acuvate.
It's a pleasure. So, Shanawaz, I would like to start a conversation by asking you, what sparked your interest in the field of data analytics, and how did your journey in this domain begin?
I've been someone who has been fascinated with numbers. So I look at the world as 0 and 1, especially the technology world, right? Be it this camera, what you have, or the phone you have, images, documents, languages. It's all zeros and ones. And during my initial part of my career, when I started working on applications, I was always fascinated with databases, the way mathematics has enabled data to be stored, set theory, predicates, etc. So there's always been a fascinating world for me when it comes to mathematics, which moved me towards BFSI. I had the opportunity of working with multiple BFSI customers where I had to look at numbers day in, day out. And I had helped customers to visualize their data better, make decisions better, and that has stuck to me, and I'm continuing to do it today. I was able to make people realize the power of data. This was during the initial part of my career, right? It was for a banking customer. We were working in anti-money laundering and terrorist financing. At that point of time, they had rule-based engine which would, the business would define different kinds of rules, and based on that, they would track where there is fraud happening. There were some bit of statistics, but at that point of time, we were introducing machine learning. So we started off by looking at the data, run some machine learning algorithms on top of it, which was able to bring out like a chain of fraud, which was done by an internal employee. This person was a bank manager, and it was not likely that they would be doing it. Post facto, when they start analyzing if there was, because it's a regulatory issue, so they had to analyze it. Otherwise, the bank would be ending up paying a lot of fine. So when they started digging, it turned out to be factual. That was an eureka moment.
So what is the latest and most exciting data trends that you think will shape the industry today?
Data itself has been changing, especially over the last 10 decades. When I started my career, it was Excel-based SQL databases. The trend has evolved over the last 10 years. We started with transactional databases, then we moved to data warehouses, where we would change the data in such a way that people could easily report out of it. Then data warehouses were not enough because they had limitations in terms of having unstructured data was not possible. Data science was not possible with data warehouses. At the time, big data was also an evolving stage, which translated into data lake. And from there on, now we have moved into data lake houses. If you ask me the top 3 trends, I would stick to data lake houses, data fabric, and data mesh.
But I'm curious to know about what this data lake house concept is with respect to data and analytics.
data warehouses have limitations, right? You would not be able to bring images, videos into a structured data warehouse. It was built for a purpose where if we had structured data, we would be able to do faster reporting out of it. And data lake as a concept evolved because we wanted to do machine learning, we wanted to do AI. So what we started doing is we brought the data into data lake, and then from data lake we would push to multiple data warehouses. Data lake house is something which brings a data warehousing concept on top of a data lake itself, right? I could run my SQL statements directly against my data lake, where I have my data in, say, a Parquet format or in a ORC format, right? So it has enabled us to be able to directly report on top of data lake instead of building a data warehouse and reduce the complexity of duplication of data.
So what about this data mesh then? How is it different from this data lake house?
Data mesh is a new concept which is right now evolving. This was introduced like a couple of years back by someone called Zamak. For an enterprise to be able to work together or be like a collaborative organization. For example, if there is a supply chain tower, right? If I'm forecasting my demand, I have to work with my factory to be able to see if my factory has capacity. I'll have to work with marketing and sales to understand what kind of promotions they are running, so I know what is the demand that would come. I'll have to work with my R&D to see what is the new product that is going to be launched. So I'll have to look at my factory to see if I have capacity in my factory to do it or not, right? So data has to come together, and who is going to own this data from where I could generate an insight for supply chain tower? It's an interesting concept which is being used by different enterprises for enabling people to do their own data science or their own reporting.
Can you talk about Fabric as well?
Yeah. Data mesh and data fabric, to me at least, are complementing technologies or complementing frameworks. When you have a data fabric, data mesh can be provided seamlessly. Data fabric is something which spreads across an enterprise. Fabric is something which weaves across an enterprise, so data could be shared seamlessly, right? With that concept, Microsoft is introducing this data fabric, which has been there for a few months now already in private preview. So Fabric, within Fabric, you could do your reporting, you could do your data engineering. It has a data lakehouse, and it has a data warehouse component. So I could bring in all of my data together in a one lake, and it's easy for someone to build their own data science models or data science or reporting.
So because this is Microsoft Fabric, right? Is it that we are getting data only from the Microsoft cloud? Is it possible to get it only from?
That's an interesting question. So in data fabric, a very important concept is having active metadata, and the other concept is virtualization. Traditionally, we have been, or how data practices work is, we will have to move data from one place to another. Today, Microsoft Fabric has something called as shortcuts, which can bring in data from AWS or Oracle Cloud, or it could be from GCP, which is a very powerful concept.
Yeah, it is.
So,
yeah, it's very interesting and very powerful. Yeah. So also, is this Fabric only for data engineers and data scientists then?
Today, most of the enterprises have Power BI, Tableau, where the businesses themselves create reports, whereas the data engineers work on building a business-friendly semantic layer or business-friendly curated layer for the business users. Microsoft Fabric is trying to do the same today for business users.
Okay, so this sounds more like it's like a no-code, low-code platform, right? So does it also have any AI capabilities?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So Microsoft is introducing Copilot. Every app today in Microsoft has a Copilot. If someone asks me about a Copilot, I would ask them, which Copilot are you talking about? Are you talking about PowerPoint Copilot, or is it Power BI Copilot, right? So there is Copilot everywhere, and Microsoft Fabric is no exception. Let's say I have a bunch of Excel sheets. All I have to do is move all those Excel sheets into one lake. I don't know how to code in Python. I don't know how to code in Scala. I don't know about machine learning, but Copilot knows about it. All I have to do is ask Copilot to generate a predictive model for me. It's a low-code, no-code platform, as you said, right? But it also has the Copilot feature, which is going to be a game changer.
Will this be an expensive affair and only large organizations will be able to implement data fabric?
I can give you a consultant answer, which is it depends on the data volume which you are bringing in, right? Customers have the option of playing around with it, doing POCs. Of course, we cannot move it to production environment, but that could be used for building POCs, trying out different options, opening it up to business users to allow them to play around. And all of this is free of cost. The lowest tier which Fabric capacity has would be costing us somewhere close to $300 per month. It is low-code, no-code, and also very cost-effective in the longer run as well.
So could you shed some light on how secure Fabric is and how does it address the data governance issues that an organization might have?
Sure. Fabric, as I said, it has purview within Fabric. So purview has been there for a while, where you could connect to any of your data sources, have it scanned all of your metadata, and it makes active metadata. So the concept of Fabric is all about having active metadata. Active metadata is quite important for Gen AI. Data governance is an important aspect, and this is going to be a tool which is open for business users to do their own self-service reporting or self-service machine learning. So who has access to what? Who is the data owner? Who is frequently accessing the data, right? And also, how do we classify the data as private, confidential, right? So all of that can be done by Purview, which is embedded within Fabric.
What do you think are the most impactful use cases for Microsoft Fabric?
Sure. We have been working on quite a few Fabric use cases already. To name a few, right? Let's say I'm an enterprise, I'm in a CPG company or a manufacturing company. For me, monitoring the overall equipment efficiency is quite important. For me, predicting when a particular mission, especially if it's like a blocking mission, is quite important. So if I have to do that, I'll have to bring in data from different sources. Most of the manufacturing industries today implement something called as SMED, single minute exchange of dies. So they could look at their changeover process and drill down what is causing the issue, have it fixed, so they would have the capacity based on the demand that's increasing. Right?
So it does mean that it has the capability to handle real-time data, right?
The use case I was talking about, predictive maintenance, mostly depends on OT data, which is coming out of IoT sensors. Today, most of the manufacturing equipments have IoT sensor data. So Fabric has real-time analytics. We used to call it Custo or Azure Data Explorer. Microsoft has done a brilliant job of bringing in data engineering, data warehouse, data lakehouse, real-time data, and data science all together. So that's why it's called Fabric, right? So it's all stitched together, and me as a business user would be able to go leverage all of this technology with Copilot.
What steps can organizations take to effectively prepare for embarking on their Microsoft Fabric journey?
Sure. As I said, from now to when Microsoft Fabric becomes generally available, we have the option of enabling Fabric and then trying out different things. For customers who are looking for options to understand Microsoft Fabric, they could work with partners like us. So the question is, how do we migrate from Synapse to Fabric, right? And there are people who have not taken that step of moving into a modernized cloud. They have the ability to directly move to Fabric, but when people work with us, we would be able to guide them towards a path or a roadmap for migrating their existing workloads into Fabric. So the answer is, talk to us partners like us who are a featured Microsoft Fabric partner as well, and we should be able to tell you what the roadmap is and also get you access to preview features which is available.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for today, Shanawaz. It was indeed at least quite insightful session for me. I've learned so much about data, especially about Microsoft Fabric. Thank you for today.
Thank you, Swetha. Thank you again for having me in this show. I'm always glad to be part of the show.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this show today. And I hope you also found this quite insightful as I did. Stay curious and innovative, and keep sipping of coffee until we meet next time and discuss more of technology and business. Thank you.